The valve covers on the big block Ford in my gasser here look really cool, but they're just not tall enough. I need a taller set of valve covers, but I don't want to spend a ton of money. Boom. I took some super cheap cast aluminum eBay special valve covers and I painted them to mimic old school finned valve covers. And it was so easy, we're actually gonna do it twice. Stick around. What's up guys, I'm Jeremy, welcome back to Catfish Motorsports. I'm out here messing with a little art project and I thought, hey, I might as well film. So here's a set of valve covers. I have already flaked these. These are for my 1966 Ford Fairlane gasser project that has a big 503 cubic inch 429 460 base big block Ford in it. Now, I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. This is silver holographic flake. I actually did not know that when I bought it. I thought it was just silver flake. Turns out it's holographic, so it's kind of rainbow. It doesn't show up crazy in the light here in the garage, but you get these out in the sun, and it is wild, like crazy rainbow colors. Not my preference, not exactly 60s themed. I wish it would have just been regular silver flake, but I also don't care enough that I'm going to do it over. So what's the plan here? This one is already sanded. I still have to sand this one. We are going to try and simulate a finned valve cover. This is said 503 cubic inch big block Ford in a nostalgic gasser drag car. I have these cool Holley finned valve covers that I painted in a previous episode. Maybe you guys have seen that. And they look really cool for having basically done with rattle cans. However, they're just not really tall enough for this application. I got a couple gaskets stacked together to get them to fit, but I can't put baffles under the breather and PCV openings. And I just don't like it. So we're going to make another set to go on this engine, and then we'll put these on the shelf and save them for something else. But if you think about how those Holley valve covers look, that's essentially what we're simulating here. So as I start to pull some of this tape off, you'll see under here, there's a thicker 3-inch piece of masking tape that is the block at the bottom of those Holley valve covers. And then all of this blue is actually getting pulled off. That I'm just using as spacer. And then the orange tape is actually going to stay on while we start to candy this, and that is going to simulate our fins. And I'm really just doing this, like I said, this is an art project that I was just messing around. I'm actually sitting out here, you know, having an adult beverage and doing this. Like I said, thought I might as well turn the camera on. I'm keeping this project super simple. Like I thought about trying to put some scales in or something like that, but I'm like, you know what? Just keep it easy. I've got a couple of tools here. I've got a razor blade. This is a slug left from a hole saw when I drilled a hole to make for a gauge or something like that. That is what I use to make my lines here, where we're going to cut the fins out where they would normally be on a finned valve cover as it goes around the breather hole, because the fins don't go all the way over that. And we're also leaving ourselves a blank space similar to that Holley valve cover where it would say Holley in there. I am going to put a little image transfer in there with a little pinup girl model that got made between myself and, you know, an AI bot, and the words toxic relationship, which is what the race car is named. And I think that's pretty much all the talking I'm going to do until the end of this. This is not really how-to. This is going to be more an ASMR where I'm going to put you guys in fast forward and let you watch me do this. If you want more, not necessarily technique, because I'm not a professional, but if you want more like mixing and the products used and stuff like that, check out the video where I airbrush my helmet. I talk a lot more about what I'm using and mix ratios and things like that. I'll put a link to it in the description. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And that looks like a finned valve cover. It's got a few more fins. I think this one ends up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And the other one over there, the actual like Holley valve cover, ended up with like 9. But it's also more canted, so it has less surface area up top. So it kind of makes sense. I just said I'm using the tapes that I have. This is 1/8, this is 1/4, and like whatever we end up with, we end up with. I'm not trying to get cute. So I've got to go in and print out my image transfer. I have to wet sand this other one. I do want to do them together because I'm going to, like I said, we're keeping this simple. So I'm just using one color of candy. We're just using gold over top of this. And then our fins here, the top of the fins, are going to actually be the color this is now. The only other color I'm going to use is black to make our shadow. And that is kind of the last talking point I want to make. When I outline these in black, while there is going to get a little bit of black all around the fin tape, we're definitely going to aim heavier underneath because we're pretending, you know, the valve cover is going to sit like this on the engine. We're pretending our light source is coming from the top. So your shadow is going to be heavier underneath. So that's what we're going to do to try to create that raised effect. Hopefully it works. I have one paint adhesion issue right there. I never get through these unscathed. And because I use cheap primer, I maintain that if I used like a good 2-part epoxy primer instead of rattle can primer, that wouldn't have happened. But again, this is just an art project for my own use. Nobody's buying this. Well, there you go, finished product. Now, if I hold it just right, you can maybe see the line around the graphic here. I only ran over this with like 2000 grit and then my polisher. So if you wanted to completely eliminate that line, you just need to get more aggressive when you sand the clear coat. Make sure you give yourself enough clear coat that you can sand it down. Looks really cool, and now that it looks really cool, I'm gonna destroy it. I'm just not happy with the readability of this, so you're gonna get a little bonus footage here. This might just be too small for this type of clear graphic to show through. I'm gonna put something in here that looks like the raised fins, haven't decided what yet, but it'll look more like a classic fin valve cover where your MT or your Holly or whatever is raised in the middle just like the fins are. We'll see what that looks like at the end, haven't decided yet. So here's a hack for everyone. I cut the stencil out with my Cameo Silhouette, which is essentially a Cricut. So if you or your wife or anybody else you know has a Cricut, it is super helpful for cutting out stuff like this and saving you having to do it with an X-Acto knife. I'm actually really proud of these. These came out really well. Now, I almost always skip the wet sanding step, but in the interest of keeping in pretty good results for absolute minimum effort, I did go through it a little bit on this. Now, this is extreme minimal effort. I used one sheet of 2500 on just a cheap Durablock and one sheet of 3000 grit Trizact. 2000 would be better. I'm just apparently out of 2000 grit sandpaper. If you're gonna do like a super simple cut and buff polish job on something like this, 2000 is probably a better grit, followed by the 3000 Trizact. And then I've got two pads on my buffer here. This one is kind of medium. This one is fine. Similarly, now this is called one. Apparently you can use it for buffing and polishing, but I still use that one for cutting. And then I have a cheap McGuire's, I think that's how you say that, polish that I used on the fine pad. And I'll put these side by side because I've done one of them, not the other one. Like I've got an LED light up here, and when I look at this one, you know, you can see the shape of the light, but you can't see the individual like little LEDs in it or the circle in the big one, and you can on the one that I've really lazily polished. And I only did the tops. I didn't bother with the sides or anything, but you can go as far as you feel like you need to with that kind of step. I just don't care. I'm gonna ding these up in the engine bay and whatnot anyway. Now on this one, you can see, I don't think it'll show up on camera, but I can still see the silhouette of the little transfer tape thing that we put over it, because I didn't sand this one as far down as I did the other one, which is also why you have a little bit of like delamination right here where you can see gold instead of silver. That's just because I got super lazy sanding these down. I actually got to the point, because these valve covers are less than $100. I was like, am I spending more time than I should be on this? Should I just buy a new set? But I ultimately decided to take an hour of my time and sand them down, even if I didn't do a very good job. As always, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.